All right, hello everybody. I'm Tony with Go2 Bait Company, and if you're sitting here watching this, I want to thank you for taking the time. I think it's going to be well worth your time. I want to start out by showing you the 4-inch swimming crawl. This is probably the most versatile bait that we have. I hear a lot of people fishing many different ways. Again, it's a 4-inch swimming crawl. All this stuff that I'm about to show you is hand poured. And the reason that's so important is being hand poured, we use a high-end plastic and we do not have to use a lot of hardener in the plastic. So what we get away with is a lot of lift to our stuff and action, which you can see as I swim this crawl. It's a little different action than a lot of your different crawls that are on the market. A lot of the other ones have a lot more action to it. This has more of a subtle wave action. It's a different look for the fish. But if you'll notice when I stop how that thing sits up. And if I pull it real slow and stop, it'll still raise up and raise that jig up. And it's not hollow bodied. The body's not hollow. It does not have any air shot in it. All this stuff that I'm going to show you, none of it has air shot in it. It has no hollow body to it. It's solid, so it makes it more durable because it's real pliable. So those pinchers won't break off on you. Average fish on these crawls, 5 or 6 fish before you have to change the crawl. They really hold up good. Again, we use a high-end plastic, and that's why it's so good and holds up good. So you got durability, you got lift, and you got action on all this stuff. Real good behind a spinnerbait, chatterbait. Will not turn them over. Runs real good. Carolina rig does really good Carolina rig. And matter of fact, Carolina rig, I hear a lot of people say just dragging the Carolina rig, you'll feel those pinchers really moving real good. And another thing, you fish it weightless. It's real good. It'll go about with a thin diameter like a Gamakatsu hook. It'll go wide gap. It'll probably go 3-6 inches under the water. It does real good like that. You can swim it across the top. Real versatile bait. You can flip with it, everything. The next one I want to show you is our 4.2 little thumper. This is the guy we just got on the market this spring. If you'll notice, it'll sit up too. I can hold the head up if you take a good look at it and look at it from behind, the action that it's got. It's got real good movement to it. I try to hold the head of the jig up and it will not lay down. That thing will sit straight up. And just to show you a quick illustration of it, this is competitor. A lot of your competitors have the hardener in there, and if you'll notice when I drop it in, how it sinks to the bottom. And this is ours right here. When I drop it in, how it comes right back up to the top. And what a lot of people are doing is they're putting a weight right above it. They'll take a little split shot or a bullet weight, either one, put a little stopper there or a little split shot on it, leave a little leader with it, and when you flip with it, it'll have that good lift to it. And I hear a lot of people doing that. So that's one little trick with that guy. But when the fish follow it down, it's just common sense. If it sits up, you're liable to get a strike even after the fall. Now I know this is a reaction type bait and it's supposed to fall to the bottom, but if it hits that bottom, that fish follows it down, it's sitting up, and you got a better chance that fish is going to be able to stay with it and maybe hit it again after it hits that bottom. It won't lay down on you. Just a little extra chance for another bite. And let me show you what this hardener will do to plastic. This is one of the competitor worms, and it's on a shaky head. You'll notice, and it's got good movement. It's a good worm. But when you lay this thing down, that shaky head down, it's just going to sit there and lay right there on the bottom. And that is why a lot of times you get hit on the fall when you're fishing plastics. When it's falling, when you pick it up, they see it and they hit it. When it's in the grass or wood or rock or any cover like all lakes have on the bottom, it's going to sit down in it, it hides in it, and they lose it. So you got to pick it up for them to see it, and that's when they hit it. If you'll notice ours, which I'm going to go to, this is our 7-inch shaky worm. Now watch how this thing will really just sit up. And you'll notice too that when it hits, it has a good vibration all the way head to tail. If you look in real close on it, how that thing vibrates whenever it hits the bottom, head to tail. It's got real good movement to it. And it'll just sit up there. It's not going to lay down on you. None of this stuff will lay down. It's going to stay up, and fish are going to be able to stay with it better if you're in cover. Just let it sit there, and you'll see how it sits straight up. And that's our 7-inch shaky. Let me go to our little 4.5. That's the 4.5 shaky. Same thing. He's going to sit up there good too. Any of our stuff, this little know-nothing little looking bait, but I tell you, a lot of people have done really good with this. Got a lot of emails and calls on how good this little thing works, and it really holds up good. I've had a guy from the Kansas State fishing team said that he caught 45 fish on one worm, and he actually caught 25 before he started tearing down any. So it really holds up good. Now my big worms, if you can get 1 or 2 fish out of this, you're not going to get as many as the shaky worms, the thumper, or the little crawl. But this worm right here is very good for Carolina rig, fishing ledges, fishing on a jig like I've got it here, Texas rig. You'll notice it'll sit up there real good in the action that it has to it. All this stuff will stand up when you jerk it, how it shakes head to tail. You can see if you're close in, look at a close look of that. You'll notice from head to tail how it's got that good movement all the way through, because we don't shoot all the air in it. We don't have a lot of that salt. And without having the hardener in there, it has that good lift, good action all the way through. Any kind of current, wind current, the fish is going to move that plastic really good. Fish are going to be able to see it good and cover. Just gives you a better chance for a strike. And last, Big 13. And this has been a you know, Kentucky Lake Guntersville ledge fishing. People love this thing. If you can see, there's a lot of action to it. Really sits up good, and I can sit here and stop this. It'll sit up like all the rest of the stuff, even the tail sitting up the top of the surface of the water. I have a lot of guys tell me they can see it between rocks sitting up. And again, the reason I want to point this out, this is just a little something different for your arsenal. A lot of plastic today with the hardener, with the air, doesn't have the action, if it does have the lift because of the air, it won't have the action. If it's laying on the bottom, again, fish aren't going to see it. But there's times that fall, the fish want that. And I'm not saying the other plastics are no good. They're good in certain times. This is just a different look for the fish, and I believe it's definitely a bait you need to have in your boat, because it gives a totally different look than most anything out there. And I hear from a lot of guys when they're on this Go2 bait that they're not hitting anything else. They can't get them to hit any other plastic. So again, I think it's important to have. Give it a try. Please give it some time. I have a lot of guys tell me they'll give it 10 minutes, you know, or a day. Fish it, give it some time so you can create an average. And I think you'll find you'll start getting a few more bites. You'll find some really good days that'll happen on it. But again, you got to give it that average. You got to give it time to find out. And that's about it. And I thank you guys for taking the time to watch. God bless. And hope you give it a try. And I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you. Have a good